Okay, so check this out. This is a website called CodePen, right? And you can go to CodePen and it will set you up with an HTML, JS, and CSS file, right? Which is kind of what you need. If you hit this, this is the console. So if you need to like log hello world, this will help you do that, right? Which I can assume. So based on your question, I assume that you have a button somewhere, right? That does the thing. And you probably have some styles on that button, something like this, okay? And then we had some other stuff that we're gonna clean up, right? Now that we've seen what you started with. What you started with was fine, but we're gonna fix it, okay, right? So here's a request. I have an onClick that launches a JS function that turns a button from green to red. If it's green and red to green, if it's red, I wanna have the function go from green to red, delay 5 seconds, and then revert. No joy. Here's the code. I tried setTimeout without luck and blah, 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 okay? So you wrote something that's basically this, which I think is grand, right? Good effort. It leaves a little bit to be desired, so we're just gonna comment this out, all right? And we'll come back to it. So I assume that you have a starting point that is something like this, right? So what we want to do is we want to grab a reference to the button with a query selector, right? You probably have something like that. I'm getting it by this ID, right? So that's how I'm getting it. Okay, so then the next thing that we want to do is we want to listen to events on that button, right? So we're going to do button.addEventListener, right? And the listeners for our button that we're going to go for a click listener, right? And then what we want to do is we want to do some toggling, right? Which is where you were at, right? You had a good start, right? So then we're going to have a function. Hey, function. All right, and we're going to name this function toggle, right? And that's our function, right? So we have a reference to the button. We add an event listener to the button, and the event listener is of type click, and we do an action, and the action is called toggle, right? All right, so our toggle event, what we're gonna do is we're gonna say button, right? Which is that same reference to that same button, right? We don't need to pass anything, it's nice and simple. And we're gonna say, hey, class list, we're gonna use toggle, the string active, right? And so now what's gonna happen is we're gonna use toggle, which is just like a built-in method, right? It comes for free. And we're gonna add this background color green, and the background color was red, right? So now when we click, we should change the color, right? Ta-da, all right? So this saves us a bunch of like having to add and remove, right? So that's kind of good for us, right? Okay, cool. So now the other thing is that we want to do stuff after some set amount of time, right? So what we would want is a function called, let's say, do after, right? And it would take in a time, right? So we're doing something after a time, right? And what we want to do then is we want to do a setTimeout, all right? And our setTimeout function is going to do something after our set amount of time, right? And we don't know what that something is yet. We haven't said what that's going to be, right? So what exactly is it going to be? Well, it's going to be a reference to that button, and we're going to say, hey, class list, which is, you know, you're already there. And then we always want to remove in this context, right? So we're just going to go ahead and remove active. And so if active is there, we're going to remove it. If it's not there, we're not. And then what we're going to do is we're going to click, do the thing. It's going to turn green. And then after some amount of time, it will change, right? But we actually need to use it. So in order to do that, we just need to say do after. And then we can just throw in a number right there, 3,000, right? Which is 3 seconds. So now we'll just hit do the thing, some time goes by, and it goes back, all right? Let me know if that suits your questions. And if you do have some code that you can copy paste into a tool like CodePen, that would be super sweet. I'll also put this URL in the link below so you can go take a look at it, which would help me tremendously so I could actually see the code that you're doing so that I can kind of point you in a direction. So good luck and talk to you soon.